conducive to learning. We'll be covering 4 different topics. One is know your clients, and I mean your students and their parents. What happens before teaching even begins, because so much of teaching, the actual teaching in the classroom, the 50 minutes or 40 minutes or an hour, is, I call it almost the show. But anyone who's put a show together or put any type of program together knows what happens behind the scenes, what happens to prepare for the program is even more important than the actual program. So what happens before teaching even begins? And then third, teaching and discipline. And fourth, support and collaboration, which all teachers need to have to be able to be effective. And it says, get your students to say, Mom and Dad, hurry or we'll be late for Sunday school. That probably won't happen. I had Mahmoud Uncle as my teacher. I thought his way of teaching Sita helped me love the Prophet. But I will tell you, there wasn't a day that I said, Mommy, Daddy, hurry up, we're going to be late for Sunday school. It just didn't happen. And I think that's something we forget. Let's be honest, I teach 8th graders right now. I've taught 5th graders for 6 years, 3rd graders, 1st graders, and kindergartners over the last 15 years. I wanted to see how kids develop over the years. So alhamdulillah, I've been able to do that. It's been my own personal study over school. But when I think of my students in any given day coming into my classroom, many of them spent the night before at a sports activity, probably spending about 1 to 2 hours either practicing or rehearsing or doing something else. Many of my students have some type of a musical instrument that they play once to twice a week. Most of my students attend some type of religious ed, whether it's Korean school, Chinese school, Jewish synagogue programs to get ready for their bat mitzvahs and their bar mitzvahs, or getting ready for their communion as Christians. Okay? Then they have time they have to spend with hanging out with friends, because for the grade levels that we teach, kindergarten through 8th, 9th grade, it's very important. The friendship models help them become who we are. If you take all of that into account, and then you add the 2 hours probably that they're thinking about regular school, and then you say, what else is there? Well, how about sleeping and eating? And we seem to forget that sometimes at our Sunday school and weekend school programs. We want so much. Oh my God, but this is their deen. This is their iman. It's the most important thing. Forget about, Sunday, week school. Forget about math, science. This is the most important thing. It is. But in this world, the grades they're getting will get them to high school, and the high school grades they're getting will get them to a good college. And so we've also taught them, we say out of one part of our mouth, deen is everything, and then on the other hand, but bete, Northwestern would be a really good school for you to get into. It puts a lot of stress on our children. So knowing your students, and one of the things that Sohail Bhai and I talked about as we were planning today's meeting was that it's coming in May. You're ending school in a month. But it doesn't mean you stop thinking. We're hoping that many of you will return next year as educators to ISNS. And if you do, this is something we want you to walk away with. One, that your teaching means a great deal. It's sawab jariyah. At the very least, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless you. And then if anything good comes out of what your students do 20, 30 years later, the sawab goes to our elders. The sawab goes to the people who made them who they are. So who knows who you're affecting? When I was throwing spitballs in the back of the classroom, I'm so sorry, Mahmoud Uncle. You didn't know that, but he must have thought, oh my God, those girls, oh my gosh, ashkal ke bachiya, what are we going to do with them? But who knows where 20, 30 years from now a child will be, because you spent an hour a week with them. That's all you had with them, but who knows what you instilled in them. So we're going to get to know our demographic, know their culture, know their religion. Let's do some reflection pieces. We're going to stop every once in a while, and I want you to think about the classroom you had this year. Maybe this classroom you have very little bit of time with, but plan ahead. 3 months, surprisingly, is not a lot to plan for a good next year. I've already started planning my units for next year. And so I'm hoping that you'll join me in thinking about how this year went, patting yourself on the back, saying, Alhamdulillah, I was able to do this and this and this, but inshallah, I'm going to do this and this and this next year. So I start off with saying, as I said earlier, know the demographics of your students. What is their immigration pattern? Are they first-generation American or second-generation American? That makes a huge difference. What is their family structure? More and more often in our communities, we'll see families where either the husband and wife, the parents, are divorced, or there's a lot of, if not divorce, there's a lot of stress in the family. And believe me, you know this and I know this, the stress in the family is always absorbed in many times by the children in the family. So if a child is hearing the fighting or anything else going on at home, whether it's an extended family, whether it's mother and father, that affects who they are, their attitudes towards adults, how open they will be when you speak to them at Sunday school. So all of that. Know their interests. Are they in sports? Are they in activities outside of school? Know their ability level. Before school begins as an 8th grade teacher, I get a list of all the students that will be in my classroom during the school year. Typically, I'll have 70 students in my classroom at some point or another throughout the day. And I'm told who has the high scores, the average scores, and who are special needs. And if they're special needs, I'm told, is it ADHD? Is it that they're not good readers? Is it that they're good readers but they don't understand math problems? I'm told their background as a learner. How many of you are told nothing besides the name, and maybe you get that the first week or week before school begins? Right? Right? Okay, so you have a challenge there. You're trying to figure out the first couple of weeks. Is he not looking at me because his dad told him to lower his gaze in front of women? Is he not looking at me because he thinks I'm just an idiot teacher who doesn't know anything? Is he not looking at me because he's one of those students who can't sit still and has to be looking around? Which one is it? I don't know. You have to figure it out the first couple of weeks of school. Nobody tells you. So we have these challenges we meet as teachers. And then, of course, learning styles. Do I think all students will learn if I put something up on the board? Will all students learn if I tell them to read that sheet of paper? How many of you needed to listen to Sohail Pai but didn't read my bio? How many of you read my bio and understood it but didn't understand what he was saying? How many of you will go back later and look at the bio after I'm done reading? So, each of us learns differently. We have many different learning modalities. If we don't teach to them, we won't reach our students. And so, welcome to the world of teaching. It's very, very challenging. But if we don't know our clients, we can't expect to meet them. If we don't know that they're getting up every single day to attend, and my children say this, my own children say this, they attend real school on weekdays, and then they attend, whatever, on the weekend, right? The grades count in real school. So I get a C in Sunday school Sira class. That teacher doesn't know how to teach Sira anyway. Okay, so we have comments like that, and it's challenging. They're working on math and writing homework for at least 5 evenings, if not more. No one likes more school. If I told you, how many of you wanted to be here? I know I'm really good, but how many of you really wanted to be here? You'd much rather be somewhere else. The weather's beautiful. Children are absolutely no different. So when they come into my classroom,